my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today is January the 12th, and it is the start of the Read in the New Year Readathon, hosted by Oshina Gotta Read 'Em All and Lovely Day with Holly. This readathon runs for a week, and there are 4 prompts. So those prompts are: not set in your country, from your physical TBR, on a topic that interests you, and a book you got for free. And you can double up on any of these prompts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check in each day to tell you what books I'm reading and how those books are going for this prompt, and if I finish and if I start a book. So it's just going to be like a weekly or a daily check-in for the week. Okay, so let's start with what am I reading and will they fit any of these prompts? So the first one I am reading is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I am reading this for Tammy from Protagonist Pub for her book club for January. I'm not doing very well. I should be a lot further than what I am. I am currently on chapter 9, and I want to be like even with the date. So today's the 12th, so I really should be reading chapter 12 today. And this book is also due back at the library by the 17th. So really, I gotta be even further than that. But I'm hoping I can renew it. I do have it on audio as well, but it's much easier for me to read this in print. I found, or I was given, I didn't find it, I was pointed to YouTube that kind of explains each chapter, like kind of a recap of the chapter after you read it. So I read a chapter and then I watch that explanation, and it's like so much easier for me to get through, because other times I'm like, what? Wait, I know what they're talking about at times, but then other times I'm like, I'm so lost what's going on. But I'm also really feeling for Anne at this moment. She's a very in the background character, really kind of ignored by most of her family, and just, I'm really feeling for her. So I'm hoping to read some of that. But I am currently distracted by The Edge of Belonging by Amanda Cox. I started this book last night, like late last night, and I'm now 220 pages into it. I do not want to put it down. I am just loving these characters. I am so hooked on this story right now, and I love it is flipping from 1994 to present day, so 24 years later, because the baby in the 94 is now 24 years old. Yeah, I'm so connected with this story, and I want to know how things are working out. So this is kind of what my primary focus is on right now. And then I am listening to the audiobook of Bet in the Harness by James Herriot. I do not have my place marked on this because I'm listening to the audiobook, so I don't know exactly where I am, because the chapters in the audiobook don't match to the chapters in the book. But that's okay. And this is being narrated by Christopher Timothy, who played James Herriot in the All Creatures and wow, I can't even say the name. All Creatures Great and Small television show that I watched with my parents. So it's really fun to hear his voice as James Herriot, because he's who I know as James Herriot. So that's really fun. Okay, so do any of these books fit any of these prompts? Not set in your country. Well, this one is set in Tennessee, so that is not my country because I'm in Canada. This one is set in England, again, not my country, so either one of those will work. From my physical TBR, this one is from my physical TBR, so is Vet in a Harness. And on a topic that interests you, I think this one right now, like this is kind of the theme of adoption. So that's really interesting to me. And kind of how the kids feel, or kind of how different people deal with it. So yeah, I would say that's what interests me. And a book that I got for free. Right now, that I think that would have to be this one, Bet in a Harness, because this was a Christmas gift from my mom a couple of years ago. The whole James Herriot set. So this would be one that was free to me. So right now, but I'm not going to mark down any of these books as completed for these prompts until I complete some books. And who knows what the rest of the week will be like. So that is my Sunday evening, 8:15 right now. So I want to focus on this book because this is the one I am very, very invested in. As soon as I finish this one, I will make much more progress on this one. I will force myself to make more progress on this. And I just dropped a book. So that is my check-in. I will check in again tomorrow night to let you know how it's going. Monday, January the 13th. It is approximately 25 hours-ish since I last checked in. It is now 9:30 p.m. And I finished this book today after work. I stayed up way too late last night reading this, hoping to finish it last night. But then I was sobbing in bed and I'm like, I need to go to bed. It's like, it was 1 o'clock-ish, I think, maybe even after 1, I don't know. And I'm like, I need to get up for work in the morning. I need to stop reading. So I had 3 chapters left when I put it down last night. And even though I knew the outcome because it's a dual timeline and we're flipping between the past and the present, and the dual timeline, or the past, was really what was getting me so emotional. So I knew what happened because in the present, I just didn't know how it happened, right? Still, it got me so emotional. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So I couldn't wait to finish this book today when I got home. When I got home from work, that is what I did. I sat down and finished it and then made supper. Oh my gosh, I loved these characters. I was so connected to them. Harvey, the homeless guy, Ivy, the 24-year-old trying to figure out the past and the kind of her adoption story. I was so connected. And then there are other characters that are involved along the way, and I love them just as much, except for one guy. But you don't want to like him. So yeah, and there is a bit of romance in it, but not a huge thread line in it. You see a little bit of it, but it's not the focus of the story. And this one fits for Epistolary January for me as well. I don't know if I really knew that going into it, but there is text messages between a couple people. There is little notes left for a couple people. And there is a journal they're searching for. So at the end, they do discover the journal and read entries from it. So, I mean, there is kind of all that in this book. So I can fit it in 3 different prompts if I want. I'm not going to place it in any prompts yet because I'll do that at the end of the month and fit kind of the books. Because I would like to use 1 book per prompt if I can. If not, that's okay too. But yes, 5 stars. I loved this book. And so now I've given 2 of Amanda Cox's books 5 stars and 1 4 stars, I want to say. I remember not really loving that one as much. I don't even know if I gave it 3 maybe, 3.5. It wasn't my favorite of the 3 I've read, for sure. Right now, this one is definitely my favorite of the 3 I've read. And I'm kind of like, now I need to read more by her. And I think she only has 1 other one that I haven't read. I think. I need to look that up. She is not one of my authors to zero for this year, but I think she's going to become one of those authors. Okay, so since I finished that book, I did continue reading in Persuasion. I've read another couple chapters. So I am on chapter 11 now. So I have 3 chapters to read yet to get up to today's date, the 13th. 11, 12. Yeah, I want to read the 13th. I was like, do I have to? But yes. And so I'm going to do that now as soon as I get off here. And my reward for doing that is going to be to start this book, Then Came You by Becky Wade. This is a little novella. This is the prequel novella for the Bradford Sisters series. And I just really want to read it. I just really want to read it. So that is going to be my reward for getting caught up in this book. I did make progress in this book because I listened this morning as I was getting ready for work, and then on my drive to work, and then on my drive home. Again, I still don't know where I am at. I don't like that the chapters don't match. That really bothers me. I mean, I probably could sit and kind of like look and flip through, but I'm not going to do that right now. So, yeah. That is today's check-in. And basically, I just want to praise this book. If you haven't read it, please read it. I'm back for the check-in for Tuesday, January the 14th. Last night, after I checked in, I finished up to chapter 13 of this book. So I was ready to start chapter 14 today. That is all I read last night because then I went to bed because I was tired. And so after work this evening, I read chapter 14 of this to kind of get my chapter done before I dived into this book. And I read this book this evening. I mean, it is a novella. It's only 150 pages long, and the font size is kind of large. So, yeah, I finished this. Now, I did not love it as much as I loved it the first time around, or how much I remember loving it the first time around. However, as I'm getting into it, I'm like, I don't remember that. All I remember is that it was journal entries from the father's perspective. Garner. Yeah, Garner. That's all I remembered. But there is also phone conversations not with him, with a female character and her best friend, and letters from her mother to her. And there are conversations that are so entertaining. I'm just like, wow. But like in the 150 pages, it encompasses 4 years, 5 years maybe. And so much happens in that time period. Some really hard things happen that were really, in a way, kind of glossed over because it's a mention they happen and then kind of move on. So, I mean, but there was some like really tragic things that happened and could have been dug into so much more than what they were. But it's just a setup to let us know about the three sisters that the Bradford Sisters series is about, that we meet. So this is when they are born. They're all really young. And I have marked a quote that I want to share with you. It is near the end, so I'm not going to like say the whole quote where it ends, but it doesn't really, how am I going to say this? I'm just going to share the part that kind of reminds us of things. Is, I've made awful mistakes, but I'm beginning to realize that God was able to use those mistakes. He's been working behind the scenes for my good all along. And that is so true. So true. Okay, so now that I finished this one, then I read chapter 15 in this book. So I'm a chapter ahead. Yay! I figured that was kind of my reward, my punishment, I don't know, for reading this in one evening. So now I am going to start Our Yellow Tape Letters by Caitlin Miller. This will be on my Kindle. I'm getting it through Kindle Unlimited. And it says, just days away from Germany's surrender, Lucy never expects to receive the same telegram that thousands of families across the world have since the start of World War II, a notice of her brother's death in service of his country. While reeling from the shock of losing her best friend, Lucy receives a letter from someone who knew her brother and can tell her two things she desperately wants to know: what her brother's life was like in the army and who's responsible for his death. I'm really interested in this one. And I think it was really the cover that drew me in to begin with. I've never read this author before, but I really like the cover. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the colors on the cover, and on this Kindle version I can see it won some sort of award, but I can't tell what that award is, and I don't know if it says in the write-up. No, it doesn't. So yeah, so that is what I am going to start. Maybe tonight yet. I mean, it is 10:30. So I don't know how much I'll get read tonight, but that is what my check-in will be about tomorrow, I hope. Wednesday, January the 15th. And today's check-in, I finished a book. I did not expect to be finished this audiobook today, but it ended and it was like, wait, that was it? I thought there was more. And it was perfect timing because it finished on my way home from work today, and my husband had an appointment so I could come home and film my mid-month wrap-up this afternoon rather than waiting till he was in bed tonight. So that was nice to be able to do it a little bit earlier in the day than I normally get to film. So I finished this book and I learned something from this book. I mean, I learned a few things, but that I didn't know about James Herriot. He went off to go serve in the war, but he was not a vet. And this is he's just got his papers and he has to show up at London to go into training, I guess. Whatever, it doesn't really say. I'm assuming, yeah, he got the letter saying he's to report on Friday. And so it ends with him catching the train to go. So I'm assuming the next book will have more about his time in the service. But yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I guess it makes sense that I didn't know that because the All Creatures Great and Small show is how I know James Herriot, and it's around his life as a vet. So it kind of makes sense because he wasn't a vet in the war, so that, not going to cover that. But anyways, yeah, so I finished that one. And then I read another chapter in this, so I'm still a day ahead. How long can I keep a day ahead? And so I'm like, I'm getting there. I'm on chapter 16. I just read chapter 16, so I have chapter 17 out of 24, 25. I don't know, something like that. But I have to say, I am ready to be done this book. Either finish the book because it's slow, or have some romance soon. Come on. There's so much build up getting to know the characters. And I feel like, okay, I know them now. Like, let's have something else happen. I want my favorite stuff to happen, right? So, yeah, that's I am persevering because of a book club. And the book club is definitely helping me, kind of take it slow and think about it as I'm reading it. Because otherwise I'd be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, whatever. So, yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to end and kind of how things happen, but I am ready for it to be there. Then I started Our Yellow Tape Letters on Kindle last night. I have not read any of it today, and I've only read 2 chapters of it. And so far, it's been complete journal entries. I don't know if the whole book is like that or not. It is blurred by Amy Lynn Green, who I have read a book from, so that's kind of fun. I like when I, recognize an author name that has blurbed a book. There are praises for the book inside, first couple pages. There was praises from different authors, and then the only one I knew was Amy Lynn Green. Yeah, so it's the end of World War II. It's just happened. And now we kind of are building. As I said, I'm 2 chapters in. I don't really know a lot about it. We've only met the male character at this point in time, and he's writing in a journal. So that's how we're finding out information. So, but this kind of puts me in a predicament because I do not have an audiobook going at the moment because, as I said, I finished the audiobook I was listening to. So now I need an audiobook for tomorrow morning, and I don't know what to listen to. Because my hold for Yours Cheerfully by A.J. Pearce, my audiobook, came in just yesterday. Well, I feel like was it just before I started this book, or was it, I don't know, very, very recently anyways. And I should have waited to start Our Yellow Tape Letters until after this book, because I don't want to be listening to the audio of this book while I'm reading Our Yellow Tape Letters because Our Yellow Tape Letters is set at the very end of World War II in 1945. This one is set in 1941 at the beginning of World War II, or in between World War II. Like, it's focused around World War II. And I'm like, I don't want 2 World War II books going at the same time. Like, that would be a little bit confusing. And I'm pretty sure this one is definitely set in England, and I think this one is at the beginning. Now I don't even know what hospital he was at the beginning. I don't remember. But yeah. So I'm kind of like, oh, well, that wasn't very smart of me. I should have waited to start Our Yellow Tape, and just so I could read and listen to this one at the same time. But no, I didn't do that. Now I do have 2.5 weeks for this audiobook, so I can hold off until I finished this book. But what do I listen to in between? I can't not have an audiobook going. So then I'm kind of like scrolling through like what's available right now on my Libby or Hoopla, or what can I listen to through Audible, and I'm like, and I don't have anything left on my TBR for January that is audio. Because the only 2 books I have left on my TBR for January is Yours Cheerfully and Anne of Green Gables. And Anne of Green Gables I am definitely going to read. I'm not listening to it. I'm going to read it. But I don't want to read it until sometime next week because I want it fresh in my mind for the live chat with Chantal on the 28th. So I'm holding off that book till the end. And then the only other book that I want to read in January is an advanced reader copy. So obviously there's no audio for that because it's not even released yet. So I'm like, what do I do? And how long is this going to take me to read so that I can finish this and then start the audio and book of this one? I'm like, oh, decisions are difficult. So after kind of going through, I think I'm going to go with a novella collection because I can get the novella collection through, I don't own it. I can get it through Kindle Unlimited for my Kindle, and I can get it through Audible Plus. So I'm thinking I can do that because then with a novella collection, I can read one novella. Maybe I'll finish this by the time I finish listening to that one novella. So then I can switch to listening to this one and reading it and then go back to the novella collection. Or with it being a novella collection, right? Like I can pause. I can pause in between the novellas. Like I don't have to read them all back to back, right? So I think that's what I might do. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I technically don't have to decide till tomorrow morning when I'm ready to turn on my phone to listen to an audiobook. But that's what I'm leaning towards right now. And the novella collection that is on my list for 25 to read in 25 that Christine so lovingly put on my list, it also helps check off 2 authors to zero books. So I mean, it's a good thing she put it on the list. I do appreciate it. I'm just not a huge novella fan. But this is the year of novellas, so that I can get some of those authors to zero lists down. So the collection is Sins of the Past by D. Henderson, Lynette Eason, and Dani Pettrey. So it would work on Dani Pettrey and Lynette Eason are the 2 authors that I'm trying to read to zero. So yeah, I think that's the one I'm going to do. I think. I will check in tomorrow to let you know. Did I decide to start that, or did I challenge myself and decide to go with the audiobook of this while I'm still reading this? Because, I mean, technically, I could just set this book aside and start the audio of this and read it and then come back to this book once this one's done. I mean, technically I could do that. But I've already started this book and I don't really want to put it down. As I said, I'll let you know. Tonight's check-in almost didn't happen. It is Thursday, January the 16th, and I got busy editing a video and completely forgot that I was supposed to check in. And now it's like 10:45 and I need to do the check-in. So today, this morning, I did decide to start the Sins of the Past novella collection, and the first one is D. Henderson's Missing, I think is what it's called. And I'm only 2 chapters in, but the chapters are long. But I'm only 2 chapters in, and I am invested in the story, and I'm really loving the male narrator for the audiobook, that I really just want to read that book. That is bad because it's my audiobook. I do have it on Kindle Unlimited, so I could read it, but I'm kind of in the middle of 2 other books that I'm supposed to be reading. So I have not read it. I have left it as an audiobook for, again, tomorrow morning. So yeah. And I was having issues with my Bluetooth on my car, and I had the volume at almost max and could not figure out why it was so quiet. So I sat in my car for a while and Googled like how to fix this, what could be an issue, and I got it fixed. I just listened to 3 books with it having, because I've been having this issue for a while, and I'm like, no, I'm going to take some time today and figure out what's the problem with my car. And it wasn't a problem with my car. It was a setting on my phone had been changed. But it's all fixed, and I'm back down to like a regular volume level, dial-wise, number, I don't know. So yeah, much better. Okay, I did read a chapter in this book, so now I am still a day ahead. I read chapter 17 today, so yes, I'm a day ahead still, because today's the 16th. So yeah, I'm still like, come on. However, I do have to say chapter 17 really made me laugh at times. Just the way they were like, oh, Mrs. Smith. What kind of a name is that? Mrs. Smith. It really made me laugh. But yeah, okay. And I am reading Yellow Type Letters on my Kindle. And where am I? I'm at 38% through, so page 123. Wow, I feel like it should be further on 38%, but okay. And it is completely epistolary so far. Completely. Journal entries and letters between people. So letters between a brother and sister, letters between best friends, letters between 2 people that have never met in person. One served with the brother and then the sister. So yeah, I did not expect it to be fully epistolary, which is kind of what I should with letters in the title, right? There should be a lot of letters in it. But yeah, so far it is fully epistolary. And a bunch of journal entries. I don't know if I mentioned that. And we're really getting the backstory of, so it's set in 1945, but some of the journal entries and some of the stories that are being shared are from the beginning of the war in 1941 when the brother went off to serve. And so, yeah, I am invested in the characters, and I'm really enjoying getting to know and see the story through this perspective. So that is all I have to check in now. It's Friday night, January the 17th, and it's been a Friday. It has been a Friday. But tomorrow's Saturday, don't have to work. I can stay at home, not have to leave the house. At least that's my plan as of right now. It's also Hockey Day in Canada, so there's a bunch of hockey games. All 7 Canadian teams are playing, and the Senators are the only ones playing an American team. The other 6 are all playing each other. Oh well, that's funny. Okay, so, well, first, I have not read any of Persuasion today. I've been focusing on my Kindle book because I'm really hoping to finish it tomorrow so I can count it as part of this readathon. I am on chapter 18. It says it's 80%, but these chapters are long. Like, this chapter is telling me it's going to take me 40 minutes to read this chapter. Like, I don't know how many chapters are in this book, Let me check that. Oh, see, there's only 20 chapters in this book. So I only have 3 chapters left, but yet I'm at 80%. Yeah. They're long chapters. And I have a couple comments about this book that are kind of, I'm not really sure. Maybe I should say what the book is in case you've forgotten what I'm reading. I'm reading Our Yellow Tape Letters. Here is the black and white cover, because my Kindle is black and white, by Caitlin Miller. And it is completely epistolary. So far, that's all it is. There was a mention of a phone call. It was so good to talk to you on the phone, but there was no phone conversation that happened. Everything has been letters or journal entries. I don't know if it will continue that way, but we'll see. But in one of those letters, the 2 best friends are writing back and forth. And the best friend writes the one friend and says, "I'm sorry if it looks like I ghosted you." This is 1945. This letter was written in. I don't think the term ghosted you was around then, was a thing. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like some wording that would have been used at that time, period. I could be mistaken about that, but when I read it, it was like, And the other thing that has made me go, is the male character that is writing the letter, writing most of the letters, has lost his hearing due to the accident he was involved in, and he is staying with a friend and the friend's family. And he mentions when he got there that they don't know sign language and the kids are too young to even understand. So everything's gestures, whatever, or notes on paper. But then there's a scene where he's having a nightmare and he's screaming, and he wakes up because his friend is yelling at him and shaking him, but yelling at him. But then they spend the rest of the night, his friend spends the rest of the night sitting up with him and talking through memories and things like that. And I'm just like, what? And so he's writing that he learned a lot from this, through this experience that he didn't know about the friend, and kind of how he felt during their time period prior, yeah. But it was like, if they don't know sign language, they don't know, did they write this whole conversation all night long? I don't know, it seemed weird to me. That made me wonder if, well, maybe his hearing's coming back. But then there's entries later on where he's talking about how it's difficult to communicate with people again and still, right? So I'm like, maybe it's not coming back. I don't know. It just felt weird to me. But we'll see how it goes. So that is how my reading is going so far today. Oh, I did listen to more of the Sins of the Past this morning. And I am now on chapter 5 of 7 chapters of Missing by D. Henderson. So we're getting there. I'm really invested in the story though. And I really just want to continue on that one. But I am also invested in these characters and wanting to know what's going on. So hence the reason I have not picked up Persuasion today. But I was a chapter ahead. So I'm still like, I'm on today's. Today's the 17th. I've read chapter 17. So I need to read it tomorrow for sure. Okay, and Friday. So I came home from work, and then my husband and I had to go out to do some errands. So then I went to put my boots back on to go outside because it's winter and we have snow. And the zipper broke in my boots. And I'm just like... And first, I didn't think I'd be able to get the boot off because the zipper broke at the top. I did get it off, thankfully. But then I'm like, okay, well, we were meeting up with somebody too, so we were kind of like, okay, we'll meet you in 10 minutes, and now it's like, nah, we gotta get going. So I pulled out another pair of boots that aren't really winter boots per se. They're not as tall either for the snow. But whatever. So we did the stuff we had to do, and I thought, oh, we'll just look at it when we get home and we tried to fix it. And it broke worse. Apparently we don't know what we're doing, or it's just... Now, they are not a new pair of boots. They are, I figure, at least 5 years old, if not longer. But I love them. And once I find something that I love, as long as it's not completely broken, I will continue using it. And that is these boots. And I don't want to have to rush to decide on a pair of boots. I want to be able to take my time to look to find a pair that I'll be happy with to replace them. Because they're not cheap. So, yeah. I'm hoping there's a chance for the zipper. Andrew thinks he knows somebody who might be able to fix it. We'll see how that works. I mean, I just told him I'm not leaving the house anymore. As long as there's snow on the ground, I'm not leaving the house. And he didn't quite think that would be appropriate or possible. I'm like, yeah, that's probably my dream world, right? But, so we'll see what happens. So that is our Friday evening check-in. But because I was so frustrated and I know it's such a stupid little thing, but it's a frustrating thing. And I love them. That it just kind of really put a damper on my mood for most of the evening. But then Holly and Oshina did reading sprints to celebrate the Read in the New Year Readathon. And so I joined them and continued reading. And so I'm not so annoyed. I'm still annoyed, but I'm not so upset about the boots as I was earlier. Okay, that is my check-in for today. We have one more day left of the readathon. Can I finish this book? I mean, it's telling me I only have 3 chapters left, but the one chapter is 40 minutes long, so I don't know what those 2 chapters are, but we'll see. This is kind of my priority, to finish this and read a chapter of Persuasion tomorrow. When I check in tomorrow, I better have read 1 chapter. Come back and find out. It is now Saturday, January the 18th, and it is the last day of the readathon, so it is my last check-in. And to end the readathon, I finished Our Yellow Tape Letters by Caitlin Miller. I can tell you now that it is completely epistolary. It's all told through journal entries and letters. That is all we get. I really enjoyed getting to know these characters and following them. I just didn't connect with them as much as I would have liked to, I think. I really enjoyed the friendship scenes between Jeremiah and Ben. I also really liked the friendship between Lucy and Sage, but I found Jeremiah and Ben's and kind of the army group of guys a lot more interesting, personally. And I didn't really like the end. I liked the way it ended. I didn't like how it got to the ending. I would have liked to see more of it, or kind of follow that story a little bit more of how we got to that point. But that is my only critique of it. Okay, then I read 3 chapters in this 2-day, so now I'm a day ahead again. Good for me. I am making my way through, and I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but I was able to extend my library hold, which is why I'm still able to read it. So I have 20, so I have 5 chapters left to read, so we're getting there. Okay, so for this readathon for this week, I finished reading That in Harness by James Herriot. I read Then Came You by Becky Wade. I read Edge of Belonging by Amanda Cox. And I read Our Yellow Tape Letters by Caitlin Miller. Oh, and today I finished reading the first novella in the Sins of the Past collection, Missing by D. Henderson. When I finished Our Yellow Tape Letters, I decided to just pick it up and finish reading that novella. And I really enjoyed kind of following the characters, kind of the missing aspect of the storyline. I just realized that's upside down. Can't have the tower upside down. The missing aspect of the storyline just felt a little off-putting, I guess. Like, I don't want to say because it's a novella, it's short and stuff, but there is a happy ending to it. But the way that ending, or what caused the missing to begin with, and kind of the reveal, and it was like, yeah, I don't know. It was fine. Whatever. Okay, so what books, well, not Persuasion because I'm not finished it. What of these books can I fit into the prompts? So the first one is not set in your country. So The Edge of Belonging is set in Tennessee. This is set in Washington State, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Set in Yorkshire, England, and set overseas, mainly in the war, or in California is where the American writer is. So they're all set overseas. From my physical TBR, I'm going to say The Edge of Belonging is from my physical TBR because this was a new read to me and had been sitting on my shelf for at least a year. Too long. Then on a topic that interests you, The Edge of Belonging is all about adoption and kind of finding like your history or the child's history. Not really, I would say. About veterinary medicine, a little bit, not a lot. About serving in World War II, yes, I do enjoy reading World War II stories, so any one of those. And a book that you got for free. Well, this one was a Christmas present from my mom a couple years ago. Last year? I think 2 years ago now. And so yeah, so this one was free. Our Yellow Tape Letters I got through Kindle Unlimited, so technically it's not free because I pay for Kindle Unlimited, so technically it's not free. So I guess that would have to be this one. Either way, I think I can match all 4 books to a prompt. That's perfect. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope I've interested you in some of these books. Please let me know if you've read any of them or if you want to read any of them now that I've talked about them. I really want you to read The Edge of Belonging. I want to thank you. Have a good day. Bye.